Meet me after slashing your wrist, or at the end if you so insist. I'm persistent when told to cease and desist with this blasphemous shit.
Collage left. Steve Wilker. This one looks like it's going to be intense. Was it child abuse or an accident? But on the YouTube page, it was called da 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 da. It's the motherfucking day. Okay, facing 50 years in prison. There's literally nothing you can do in England to get that sentence. Nothing. You either get, one guy I used to know got 28 years. I think our life sentences are 25 years. But I think judge discretion is allowed up to a certain amount. But essentially, I think the highest I can ever remember hearing is like 35 years. And then after that, if it's more than that, they'll just give you a whole life sentence. But very few people get a whole life sentence. In America, it's like, they just fling that shit out like Halloween candy, bro. Just like, what, you fell downstairs? Life. But yeah, so I don't know what's happened to this youth, but apparently she's facing 50 years, bro.
My daughter is facing up to 50 years for a crime that did commit. Kaya was watching her two children, and the older one pulled the younger one off the couch.
I was on the phone with my sister. She set her phone down and had her earpiece in her ear. And when she went to the bathroom, she had heard the baby start crying. I overheard Kaya in the background asking her oldest child, "What did you do?" By this time, I was already around the corner from her house, so I stormed in and I said, "We have to take him to ER."
By the time I got there, the baby had already went to the MRI, had the MRI done, and we were told that he had brain bleeding and 2 skull fractures of the brain, and that they had to call CPS and the police.
The next day, my sister was arrested, and it kind of hurt me just knowing that Kaya's not that type of person, and I was on the phone the whole time.
They put me out the room and said I couldn't stay in the room anymore with the baby. So he was left there the baby was left there by himself. I didn't get a call till probably 7 or 8 o'clock. And that's when she told me that they was charging her with a felony. The kids was removed, but they were put with family. A judge put a $50,000 bond.
We put her house on the news, mugshots, she's having rumors, and we just want to clear her name because she's not that type of person.
It's possible that the injuries came from a car accident. Kai was driving a 2006 Dodge Durango, and she hit the city bus. The 2 young kids were in the car with her when she hit the city bus. The car was totaled, so that's how I believe that the baby was injured.
I can't believe after a newborn baby was in a car accident, they didn't even notify her or tell her to take him to the hospital. But her abusing her child, never in a million years.
There's no way Kaya could have did this. Kaya is a loving mama, a caring mama. She would never resort to hitting her kids at all. Kaya's not going to harm anyone.
Kaya, you're here today and you're facing...
The car was totaled. Kids were in the car and they never went to hospital. That's suspicious right there, bro. I mean, it must have been bad enough for them to be able to suspect it as a possible cause now. And the car was totaled. I know it don't take much to total a car. That's probably from an insurance point of view. But still, there would still be significant damage.
1 to 50 years in prison for abusing your 2-month-old son.
Yes.
Did you do it?
No, Steve. I love my son.
Okay.
I took him in.
We got to do this story standing up, though. What happened to your son?
My son had 2 skull fractures and a brain bleed. I took him to the hospital because I had left him on the couch while I breastfed him and I put him on the couch so I can go to the bathroom. He was sleeping.
I'm still reserving judgment because obviously it's possible. But how big was the couch and what did they fall onto? Yo, I had some crazy thoughts, don't I?
He was 2 months old, so I figured he wouldn't be able to roll off the couch. At that time, my 1-year-old was in the back room, and when I went in the bathroom, I heard the baby screaming. So I ran out and I seen him out there, and I seen my 1-year-old pointing at him saying, "Baby." So I picked my son up, and I'm like, oh my God, you know. So I'm on the phone with my sister, and I'm like, I'm gonna call you back. I gotta call my mom and see what's going on. So I call my mom, I'm like, Mom, the baby was pulled off the couch, and she's like, I said, what should I do? And she told me, she said, just watch him. And then I'm like, he has a knot on his head. I need to take him to the hospital. So when I called Jasmine back, and I'm like, Jasmine, take me to the hospital. I need to make sure he's okay. And when I talked to Jasmine, Jasmine's like, no, you shouldn't take him up there because the way the state is, they might take your baby and all this and that. And I'm like, no, that's not gonna happen. Everything's gonna be okay. I just wanna make sure he's fine, just to be a good mom, because I love my son. And I just...
Sorry, I will say what I was gonna say. Yo, this keeps coming up with these little red flags. I'm still not accusing her yet. Yeah, I'm still not accusing her. But was she not in the car? Or even if she was or wasn't in the car when the car was totaled and banging into a city bus, did she say? And he didn't go to hospital for that. But she was insistent on taking the child to hospital for falling off the couch. That's a bit mad. That's not quite mathing. Personally, confession, when my firstborn was born, I was fucking obsessed. Like, seriously. If I was in the house, same with both of them, but it was brand new experience with the first. So when I'm in the house, they are with me, standard. If we're out, I'm pushing the pram, standard. When I go to sleep, or when they go to sleep, I'm putting them to sleep, standard. Like if I'm, it was, like the amount of times I fell asleep in the cot, yo, like my kid's mother just accepted it at this stage. Like she stopped coming down to wake me up. Like, I would wake up in about 3 hours, like cramped up because I. I do that so much. But so yeah, I was always falling asleep with him, and I fell asleep with him on the couch. But I was asleep like this. I must have fallen asleep, and they were on my lap, and I've just fallen asleep like that because obviously 14 hours, 12 hours in the studio, like 7 days a week. It was tiring. So yeah, I was asleep on the couch. I must have fallen asleep, sat up holding her, and I felt her leave. So clearly that naturist instinct that when you become a parent, like I had it because I felt her as soon as, and newborn babies have no weight. It's like holding a piece of paper. It's so bizarre. But I felt her leave and she fell to the floor. I woke up. I was awake before she hit the floor. But it was a normal English couch. I was freaking the fuck out. I was freaked. Like, I was like, oh my God, I waited my whole life for this and I fucked it up already. Like, I'm like, oh my God. But my kid's mother was in the same room. She fell asleep on the other couch. Normally she was like quick to let you know her feelings. But in this instance, she was like, yo, calm down, it's all right. And then eventually it was all right. There was no issue. But the panic, oh my fucking God. I saw a TikTok recently of a dad with the baby in this, dad asleep in the same position I was. But the clever bastard tucked his baby in his shoes. I wish I thought that. It was brilliant. Yeah, so things happen. My point is accidents happen. But to drop off a couch and to fracture the skull a couple times and bleeds on the brain and blah, 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 and to panic and need to go to the hospital when that same child has been in a car crash and that same urgency didn't apply, we shall see.
Because I love my son, I just didn't want anything bad to happen, and then just to cover my tracks. So when I get to the hospital, They're telling me that he has a
statement.
skull fracture, a swelling on his brain and a skull fracture, and that they had to call CPS and the police up there. So when the police get up there, they ask me my story, and I sit them down and I tell them that my child was on the couch, and I had went to the bathroom after I breastfed him, and when I came from out the bathroom, I figured my son had either picked him up or pulled him off the couch and dropped him. So with that being said, they told me that they would have to keep him over the night just to make sure the bleeding was stable, and that if the bleeding was not stable, that they would have to do surgery. And so I freaked out. I'm just like, oh no, I shouldn't have left him on the couch. I shouldn't have left him on the couch.
She said I shouldn't have left him on the couch by his, and then kind of looked up and then said I shouldn't have left him on the couch.
Oh no, I shouldn't have left him on the couch. I shouldn't have left him on the couch.
Was that a genuine slip?
I shouldn't have left my baby on the couch. I always take him with me to the bathroom. When I left him on the couch, I thought that he was gonna be okay. I figured my 1-year-old was sleeping in the back room and he ended up waking up. It was one mistake that I can't change now. They told me of the skull fractures, and then the next morning they said they needed to make sure that the bleeding was stable. So when they said that the bleeding, they said they had to do his CAT scan in the morning. I stayed up all night. He had a CAT scan at 5 in the morning. The first CAT scan came back blurry. The next day they did another CAT scan and they found all the other injuries, which he had 2 skull fractures and a brain bleed.
So how did he suffer these injuries?
I had a car accident and I had a C-section. There's a thing called birth trauma. It may be genetic because I have whose baby has the exact same injuries, the 2 skull fractures and a brain bleed. With the car accident, my sister said he was not properly restrained and the car flew up and his neck had whiplash.
After the car accident, did you take him to the hospital?
No. In the car accident, I had hit my head on the steering wheel and ended up losing consciousness, so they took me in. But when I had came to, I was asking where my kids were.
What just happened in the last 30 seconds? I need to rewind. She said, who had the same injuries? And she just skipped past it. And then she said she went to the hospital. I know she didn't take herself to the hospital, but a child was in the car. She went hospital. That's making the falling off the couch and being desperate to go to the hospital sounding more sus, like.
Kids weren't how my kids, and were they okay? And they told me of the skull fractures, and then the next morning they said they needed to make sure that the bleeding was stable. So when they said that the bleeding, they said they had to do his CAT scan in the morning. I stayed up all night. He had a CAT scan at 5 in the morning. The first CAT scan came back blurry. The next day they did another CAT scan and they found all the other injuries, which he had 2 skull fractures and a brain bleed.
So how did he suffer these injuries?
I had a car accident and I had a C-section. There's a thing called birth trauma. It may be genetic because I have whose baby has the exact same injuries, the 2 skull fractures and a brain bleed. With the car accident,
She has someone else, she knows someone else who has this. It feels like she's grasping a little bit, you know. And when she said about I stayed up all night, it was only 5 o'clock in the morning. Why would you be thinking that? Those kind of things, like, I would assume you would stay. Who's going to sleep, like, in that kind of situation?
my sister said he was not properly restrained and the car flew up and his neck had whiplash.
After the car accident, did you take him to the hospital?
No. In the car accident, I had hit my head on the steering wheel and ended up losing consciousness, so they took me in. But when I had came to, I was asking where my kids were and how my kids, and were they okay, and basically my kids were taken out of the car when I had lost consciousness. The kids were never checked. Later on that day, I ended up taking my...
Why weren't they checked? Who responded to an accident and has a child in a car accident and nobody takes them to the hospital? They took you, but not the child?
I have no idea why they didn't take him in. My mom had mentioned to them that the kids were in the car.
Did you say, hey, I was in a car accident, somebody needs to check my child?
Oh, yeah. When I came to, I said, well, how are my kids? Are they okay?
Did they do that?
No, they didn't.
Why not?
I have no idea.
Did you demand, I need my child checked out?
She's not getting what he's asking.
Yes, I asked them, I said...
And they said no?
No, they just said that the kids were fine and they were family. I was unconscious when I came.
Who determined that?
The doctor. They asked the family how the kids were, and my family said the kids were okay.
No medical person that said, we need to probably look at this child?
No.
Do you believe your daughter abused your grandson?
No, I know she did not do
You know
anything.
she didn't?
I know she didn't.
And you believe that this injury occurred from a baby falling off a couch onto a carpeted floor?
I believe
The floor was carpeted.
I believe the injury.
The floor was carpeted. Nope. Nope. My baby fell. Our floor wasn't carpeted. Nope. The fall. Yeah, essentially the fall was the length of my shin. I know everything's bigger in America, so maybe even allowing a little bit more. That child would have to go off head first. Has to be head first. And cannot roll completely over. The impact has to be on the head. And on a carpeted floor? That's not mathing. I don't want to believe it, but it's really not mathing.
Injuries came from the car accident, possibly the birth, and he did have an injury that did sustain from him falling off the couch. That was the injury.
When the child is born, there's a lot of doctors around, right?
That's
I
right.
remember my experience with my children. I'm in the hospital and there's doctors and nurses all around, and they examine the child when it's born, right?
That's right.
So they're missing that they damaged the child's skull,
Yes.
that the child suffered severe head trauma in the hospital, and the doctors and nurses, everybody missed it.
Hey, look, we took the babies to the hospital. They didn't do their job. They sent us back home. They never did the x-rays or
Why
nothing.
wouldn't they
now,
why didn't they want to do
wa-
their job?
We don't know.
Talk about Nebraska.
But why are they saying they didn't do their job now? Why now? If you always knew they didn't do their job. I know, like, if it comes down to finances and all that, say that. Even if what they're saying is true, they're still culpable. As a parent, you would still feel responsible, no? You've let your child... How old is this baby? You've been carrying this baby around for all this time, apparently, with all these injuries. You wouldn't feel responsible for that.
But we got, like, all the paperwork and everything. Like, so...
So you're saying they wanted to treat her. They treated her, right? She got medical attention, but they wouldn't give it to the children.
No, that's not what we said.
We took
we're
them back.
telling you that when she had the
Do
accident...
you think that she abused your son?
No.
Did you?
No.
And you're here and you
Like,
took a lie
read the
detector
test.
test.
Read the test.
I'm going to.
Let's read it.
I usually ask you a few questions before I
Yeah,
get to that,
ask
though.
Doing everything possible.
Cameron, you came here and you took a lie detector test, and we asked you.
You can read mine first.
I am right now. You are Cameron, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Pay attention now.
Oh, y'all paying attention.
Very good. Did you ever witness Kaya abusing your youngest son? You answered no. Did you cause any of those injuries to your youngest son? You answered no. Do you know for sure who caused any of those injuries to your youngest son? You answered no, and the results of your lie detector test is you told the truth.
Right. Yeah. Now, there you go.
He genuinely believes her. Why would she hurt her own child?
Can I sit down?
He's buzzing now.
down, babe.
Just in case you're wondering how he's able to take the test and he's buzzing, he's clearly not smoked for however long building up to this thing. And as soon as he took the test, he stepped outside and smoked a fat one. He is flying.
We gonna because you're gonna pass.
Yeah,
too.
sit right down.
And I just want to thank you two for always being here for me through everything. I don't know.
I'm always going to be
I don't
here
know
for
if I
you.
would have made it.
I'm always
with
going to be
you
here
guys.
for you. We know that you didn't do this. The whole family know that you didn't
I
do
love
this.
you so much.
It's like a
read
witch
the
hunt. It's a witch hunt. That's basically what it is. It's a witch hunt.
Sit down, baby, you're gonna pass.
No, she ain't sitting down.
Sit down.
Kaya came here and she took a lie detector test, and we asked her, did you cause any of those injuries to your youngest son? She said no, and the results for her lie detector test is that she did not tell the truth.
Lie. That's
you
a lie.
serious?
That's a
Are you
That's a
serious?
lie.
Now redo
That's
this. This
a lie.
is bullcrap.
It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. They need to get Jazz in the test. Get Jazz in the test. How you gonna get one person? You need to get Jazz in the test. Jazz was on the phone with.
Do you know what? They shouldn't be booing the mum. Don't. It's not her fault. Just like the baby dad, he genuinely believed there's no way my child's mum would hurt. So obviously the nan is obviously gonna believe her own daughter. So don't boo her. She's defending her. Of course she's gonna defend her. She's the fucking scum. She's done all this, making them look back. Why is she coming out with that fucking speech? I want to thank you for... That was sus. Was that not a red flag? Change the scenario. Like, with children, it makes it emotional. Like, everyone's triggered by that. So, forget the children. She's been accused of cheating, or was accused of stealing £1,000. And just before man reads the results, she says, I just want to thank you for always believing. Nah, bro. Nah, bro. I wouldn't even want to hear the results after that.
On the phone with her.
Dan, Dan, where's Dan?
I'm so glad you came back out so I can throw your ass off my stage. Get the hell out of here.
That's a lie. Get Jasmine the test.
I hope you have a really good time at the trial. Good luck to you.
And I was going to say it again. Like, remember I mentioned in the other case, and I mentioned about the lady addressed flat, like, and I realised afterwards she'd done that to try and look even more respectable. I thought the exact same thing. It's like, yo, you're dressing like you're going to a wedding or something. Like, nah, man. Trust your instincts, man. I feel sorry for that family because they believe her. They want to believe her, obviously. But now, not only are the police saying it, they've come on TV, done a lie detector test, which obviously isn't admissible in court. But it confirms what the police are already saying, bro. Now they're going to have to sit back and actually realise, like, yo, this is probably true. The likelihood of falling off a couch onto a carpeted floor, and the baby wasn't, like, a couple days old, and the way she had all these excuses, but none of them had been checked before. But they were good enough to be excuses now. Now you're facing 50 years. That's caring about yourself more than the kids, even if you were innocent, you was being neglectful. Yo,